Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Yesterday morning, I took a bunch of clips of me getting ready for not just a new week, but also a new month. So I had to move all the desks around, make copies for the week, get everything all settled, and then I never picked up my camera again. So here I am, and now it is Tuesday. I wanted to take you along with me, let you know kind of what we are up to this week. We have 2 more weeks until spring break. And actually, they're saying something about a nor'easter coming on Thursday. I think the storm is supposed to start Wednesday, and then there could possibly be snow on Thursday. I don't know. If you're also a Massachusetts teacher like me, let me know how you feel about it. I don't really want snow unless it's going to be a full snow day. And then whatever, it's a snow day, I don't have to come to school, but I do not want to come to school and have to shovel out the car and wipe off the car and drive home, unsafely, in April. I'm used to doing that in January, February, that's fine, but April, no way. And then I think in New Hampshire, they're definitely getting snow. So we shall see how this goes. But as of today, I'm preparing for no snow and we're just running the week per usual. So we introduced a few new things this week that I want to show you, including subtraction, double-digit subtraction. I think today I'm teaching them how to check subtraction problems with addition. But tomorrow we are starting subtraction with regrouping. So we have a few things that we'll do this week that I will share with you. And then also after school today, we have our CKLA meeting for the literacy committee to kind of hear all about that program and how it goes. They did send me some of their materials that I'm going to look through before we have the meeting. So I will keep you updated on all that this week. I'm going to take you over and show you what we've been doing on the slides, but there's a couple things I want to print out first. So I'm going to grab those. All right, let's see. This is what we were up to yesterday. We had good morning, lunch choices, morning reading. We talked about what we did over the weekend. Calendar, we have a new calendar, of course. It is a birthday celly because my birthday is April 6th. So it's my birthday month. We went into Haggerty. And then for phonics, we reviewed the vowel teams that we've learned so far. So the long A teams, long E, we learned the diphthong oi. And then yesterday we learned OA, OW, and OE. And we did this with my phonics slides. I've shared these before, but I opened these up into another one. We start with the sounds, and then I do some explicit teaching about how to make the sound, how it is spelled, and then we try to find words with that pattern. And then I show them the foundations cards because those are going to be added to the back. So OA, boat O, OE, toe O, and OW, snow O. And this one also has a plow because we're going to learn that it makes 2 different sounds. Then we go right into blending. I like to have them practice blending some words with the new pattern. So coat, snow, and crow. And then this week in foundations, we're really talking about words that have 5 sounds. So we're talking about words with blends at the beginning, blends at the end. So we did a lot of different blending to make different words. So blast, and then we always talk about what each one is. Shrimp, and slept as the past tense of sleep. And then after all that, we didn't have too much time, so we just did some dictation of words with 5 sounds. In reading, we are doing poetry. We have a bunch of poetry books over here that we've been reading about. We talked about different elements that we see in poetry. It's on the back of the easel. I'll show you that afterwards. Basically just like some poems rhyme, some poems don't. A lot of poems have rhythm. It still tells a story. They're often shorter than longer books that we read. All these types of things like that. So we kind of talked about that because yesterday we also started diving into writing our own poetry books. After we talk about poetry, we go right to our reading centers per usual. And then for win this week, we have some vowel team review that we are doing. Subtraction to 20, that's going to be our independent station, which we know is right down there for them to grab. They're going to learn turtle facts. This is just from my April writing prompts unit that we always do. So this is a nonfiction video and they have to share at least 2 facts that they learned about turtles. For math, these are my seasonal games that are in the print and play category in the math club. So this game is called Color the Bunnies. So it's a lot of addition. This one's without regrouping, but it is addition. So they'll have to move their spot, solve the problem. They can use base 10 blocks, of course, and then they have to color in the bunny that matches the sum. And collaborative reading, of course. Then after lunch and recess, we went into math. We have been still doing these types of number talks. We always identify the number first and then we add or subtract based on what it says. I did add an entire new set of these math talks to my math talk bundle, both in the club and on TPT. They kind of start like this, where we're adding tens and ones for place values. So if you own that bundle, you can just re-download it and grab this new set. Same here, but with a multiple of 10, so we're adding 30. And then we're also practicing some addition with 3 add-ins. So I'm looking for them to tell me different ways they solved this. And then we have a missing add-in as well. So this math talk has been taking about 8 minutes, probably about 2 per slide, but I'm really diving into this deep because I want them to really grasp those numbers and have a good number sense before we just dive into addition and subtraction with regrouping. So then last week we did start subtraction, but we started it by doing a 2-digit number and we would just subtract ones. And then we had a 2-digit number and we would just subtract tens. So today, our objective is to subtract 2-digit numbers using blocks and stack math, as we call it, where we stack the numbers up, start in the one side. So this is a spin and subtract board. I have the same ones for spin and add. They are in the math club. I'll upload these ones as well for spin and subtract. This one is, of course, without any regrouping yet. So they just had to practice spinning, and then they would write the number while their partner builds it on the base 10 block mat. So if they got 39, partner A would write it. They had to wait for the partner to build it over here, and then they would spin to see what they were going to subtract and make sure that they both got the same answer. One using stack math, one using the blocks. They would give each other a high five, and then they would switch boards and do it again. So that way everybody was practicing both the abstract part and the concrete part together. After we practiced that for a while, we just did some independent practice in our math and focus books. This allowed me to pull a small group back and kind of work on them with this while my aide walked around and she made sure everybody was doing fine with the book on their own. Innovation was our specials. And then for writing, we really dove into poetry. So I had made a bunch of poetry slides and we are kind of going a little slowly with the poetry, but I'll show you how that looks. First, I just grabbed these from the printer. This is what I just printed out. This month in the Literacy Club, I added a new set of task cards for vowel teams. So there's 4 different ones. I'm going to laminate these and get these over in a group for students to practice. Here, they just have to say the picture aloud, and then they have to clip or circle the correct vowel team. Here is some visual discrimination where they have to find the correct spelling of the word. This one, they have to fill in the vowel team. And then this one I like because they have to do, some decoding practice and then also phonemic awareness. So rhymes with, what rhymes with gray, tray, or paint? What rhymes with chain, brain, or I don't know the other one, but so they have to read the word first and then find what rhymes. The other thing I printed out, which we're going to do today at the end of phonics, since we're working on blends, here is just a read and match. So it's a decodable sentence that they should know how to read, and then they have to find the picture that matches. They'll cut it out, paste it to show a little comprehension that they understand what the sentence is saying, and color it in. So heading back to poetry, I am making slides. I've said this before, but I'm making slides for all the units in the SJT Writing Club. It's taking forever, so it definitely will not be done until summertime, and then there'll be a huge update. But for poetry, I kind of got started with it. So it says we can write poetry. And then lesson 1 is going to be sensory poems. So we'll explain some of the characteristics about poems. That's what we went over. We'll learn about sensory poems, what they are. And then they'll watch me kind of brainstorm using my senses to describe ice cream. And then we'll do it together with popcorn. We'll fill in a couple of these together with class input. And then they will go off to their desk and they'll fill out their poetry planning sheet about eating popcorn. So they can use the examples we gave and then they'll add some of their own. They have 5 minutes to go plan, and then they will come back and they'll watch me take my planning sheet and turn it into a poem just so they can see kind of what that might look like. And then they will go off and do that on their own. So that's kind of how the lessons will go. And then by the end, we'll have our own little poetry book. We are only doing poetry until April vacation. So we have about 10 school days. And one or two of those are going to be half days. So we won't even have that time. So we'll probably have a book with about 8 poems at the end. So we're kind of moving quickly, but teaching them a little bit about the poems, which is going to be fun. And then at the end of each lesson, of course, we always have a sharing. So what were some of the details you added for sense of smell? What about taste? And people can share their poems. Happy Wednesday. It is 7:30. I wanted to go over a little bit about what we're doing today, specifically in math, because we are introducing subtraction with regrouping for the first time, which is always fun and tricky. So we have a fun game that we're going to play. I have to look through the slides, but I wanted to touch upon the literacy committee first. So yesterday we had our presentation with CKLA. And now I will tell you that before the presentation, CKLA is one of the ones that I've heard mostly good things about from people that are using it in classrooms. People believe it is, definitely aligned to the science of reading. People find it pretty engaging. I mean, there's definitely some nays. I haven't heard of any program that's all pros, but this one overall, from what I see, has some decent reviews. So again, I tried to go into it totally unbiased still. And I loved what I saw. So that is what I'll say. People did not feel the same way after the presentation. Many did. I, of course, again, I talked about this last time. The hard part is we are K through 6. So for the K through 2 standpoint, when she was talking about what they do for the phonics and phonemic awareness, how they kind of tie in the knowledge building, I was like, this is great. I really enjoyed everything that they did. From what I saw. So I was very, very happy. It was definitely my best first impression out of all three of the ones that we've seen so far, EL, Savas, and CKLA. But there were some questions at the end about how culturally appropriate some of the passages are and the images shown. And we have to dive into it. Like I said, we do the presentation and then we break off into groups and we really dive deep into the sample materials that they got and everything they're going to send us. So we'll definitely have to take a closer look. But my first impression was that I loved it. In terms of, again, having to choose a curriculum in general. Of what we've seen so far, I was like, yes, this is so much more in line. The way that they teach phonics and phonemic awareness is already how I teach it now. They do some things that I love that Foundations does not do, which again, all these things that I really enjoyed and liked it. And knowledge building in K through 2 is just a lot different than it is in 3 through 5 and also in 6th grade, which is the lens that our older elementary school teachers are looking at it from. I mentioned this before, but they really want like trade books in their hands, and CKLA still has a lot of anthologies, which I totally validate and understand all of that. Just again, when I'm looking at it from my K through 2 lens, I'm like, yes, the books that we're reading, that we're building all this knowledge with for students are, books that we are reading out loud. So we don't have that problem necessarily of like, oh, we need to have these books in students' hands. It comes with decodables. We have a ton of decodables on ourselves, which are the books that we in K through 2 are really putting in their hands a lot. So a lot of the things that the upper elementary grades are worried about, we aren't as worried about. So that's just first impressions. I will be able to give you an update, probably not till the end of the month, about the other one, into reading, and then we're going to go into our debrief session on the 2 of them, and I'll kind of let you know where we land. We did decide to book a presentation with Wit and Wisdom. And then that one we could pair with Apple Seeds, which is Massachusetts phonics program, which we know nothing about. We could also have the option to pair Wit and Wisdom, since it doesn't have a phonics part, with the CKLA skills portion. So those are options we can look into going forward, and we'll see where we land. But let's talk about math. I'm about to head over to the slides, but I got this book. It is the Book of Animal Poetry from National Geographic, and it is so cool. It has wonderful photographs of all these different animals, and then it has a bunch of different poems for each one, but it was highly engaging. I will link this down below. Look at this. It's just like stunning. The white rhinoceros, moody guy. all sorts of different poems. Some were fiction and some were nonfiction, which was great too, which is the objective we had for yesterday, to identify that some poems can be fiction and some can also be nonfiction. But this was a fun one for sure. All right, so pulling up the math slides, here we are with our math talks. You have seen these a bunch of times now, but identify the number, and here we are subtracting. So for the last few days, I mentioned this yesterday, I believe, but we worked on identifying a 2-digit number, and then we subtracted ones first. So we would have this 27 minus 3, minus 4, without any regrouping. And I would have students practice with their base 10 blocks on a mat, and they would also practice it using, stack math, where they would show how we lined it up. And we talked about how we didn't have to touch the 10s, we didn't need to do anything, so we're just subtracting the ones. Then the next day we subtracted 10, so we might see the same number, 27 minus 10 or minus 20. So we would do that same thing. Here's another one. So now for our warm up, you can see we're doing 10s and 1s, but again without regrouping. So here we have 35 plus 24. I'll ask for students to tell me how they got it. We are doing lots of practice with our 3 add-end addition and just numerous ways we can solve these problems. My students have been doing a great job decomposing numbers. So like decomposing the 4 into 3 and 1, and knowing that the 3 goes with the 7 to make a 10, so on and so forth. They've been doing a really good job with that. And as they describe how they're solving it, I kind of draw like the number bond up here and show how they did it. And of course, we've been doing missing add-end in this one, as you can see. My lights just went out, I don't know why. But this one, as you can see, is going to be a 0, so it'll be a little challenge for them. Okay, and then for math today, we are going to practice regrouping numbers to help us subtract. And this came from the Math in Focus. This was kind of like the intro lesson. So I usually just like type it up and throw it on my slide. So here we have 23, and I'm going to show students this number with blocks. So let me get that ready and I'll show you how we'll do this. Okay, so I will have 23 here, just like I do on the board, and we will talk about what numbers we see. So we'll say 2 10s, and we have 3 1s, so we know it's 23. My kids will all be in the circle on the rug so they can all see it. And then I'll ask my students, is there another way I could show 23, but only have 1 stack of 10? And kind of just listen for different responses. I'm looking for them to recognize that they can break this up, and we can have 1 10, and I'll kind of write it on the board. We can have 1 10 and 13 ones. And we did something similar to this when we started our addition with regrouping. So hopefully they should remember that a little bit. But so now we have 1 10 and 13 ones, and I'll write that on the board. So 2 10s and 3 1s equals 23, 1 10 and 13 ones equals 23, and then I'll say, is there a way we can show 23 with having 0 stacks of 10? And then of course, we'll talk about breaking this up, and we will have 23 ones. And we'll show that these are the 3 different ways we can show the number 23 here. We can have 1 with 1s and 10s. And then I'm going to stack them back up, and then I'm going to say, okay, let's practice a little subtraction. So here we have 23. If I say 23 minus 1, what would I do? And I'd have somebody come up, take a 1 away, and they would say 23 minus 1 is 22. Put it back. What if I say 23 minus 3? Come, take it out. Okay, 23 minus 3 equals 20. Now, what if I say 23 minus 7? And here we'll kind of talk about what we will need to do. And this will be our intro into regrouping. So 23 minus 7, wait a second. I only have 3 here that I can take away. I need to take away 4 more. What can I do? And this is where I'll explain that what we're going to do is we're actually going to regroup. Regrouping, and then I'll explain to them, doesn't always mean taking 10 ones and putting it into a stack of 10. It can also mean regrouping a 10 here and breaking it into ones, because we know it's the same value. So now I will go ahead and break it all apart. And now with all these ones, now I can subtract 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now I have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 23 minus 7 equals 16. And then I'll go ahead and restack that group of 10, and I'll ask for just a couple other examples. So 23 minus 9, 23 minus 8. And I might ask students to come up and break apart those cubes so they can see how to do it. Then we will head back to our seats. Oh, also I should point out, I will also show them one example of doing it with our base 10 blocks too, here on the rug. We talked about this also with the addition with regrouping. This is one way to show it. If we are using our base 10 blocks, when we regroup, we have to take the 10 and exchange it for 10 of the ones blocks. So I'll show them how to do that on the rug. I just really like the visual, especially for place value, of having the 10 individual cubes first. I just feel like it visually makes a lot more sense for them to break it apart. I just don't have enough for everybody to use them on their own, and I do like them to get used to the base 10 blocks too. Okay, so what is next is we're gonna have a little grid here. Students are gonna go back to their seats with their base 10 blocks here and their little mat, and they're going to practice doing this with their partner. So first we're all gonna build 25. We'll build it right here. And then I will show what we're gonna subtract, -9. And so whoever built 25, they'll stop there, and then the other person is going to subtract 9. So we'll have to see, wait a second, we can't do it here, so I need to regroup first. So I'm gonna put the 10 away, and I will take 10 ones and put it into the tens column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, ones column, I said tens. 8, 9, 10, and I'll have them put it down here just to separate it, and then they're gonna take 9 away. So now that we have 9 here, or now that we have 15 here, we can take away 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we will see what the answer is. And then they'll actually go ahead and write that equation here on the board. So they'll say 25 minus 9 equals 16. And then partners will switch. So we'll erase the board, clear the board, then the next partner will build the first number, other person will subtract. And we'll go back and forth and do that with 4 different equations. And after we do that, I'm gonna pull students back to the rug and I'm gonna show them how to play Race to 0. So Race to 0 is just like Race to 40, which we've played before, or Race to 50, except instead of going up to 40 or 50, we are subtracting. So we are trying to race to 0. So here we will start and students will take turns. I will of course show them how to do this. They'll roll the dice. Okay, they have to subtract 3. Right away we have 0, 1, so we're gonna have to regroup. So I'll take this away, put my 10 in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I can take away 3. And then the next partner will go 5. Here I can take away 5. I don't even need to regroup, and they keep going back and forth. Every time, just like when we played Race to 50, every time they have to regroup, I will have them say regroup and give each other a high five just to kind of like point that out. So that will be today's whole lesson. They'll probably only get like 5 to 6 minutes to be able to play Race to 0. So that is a game that we will kick off our next lesson with. So we will review how to play it, and then we'll probably get 10, 15 minutes to really play that game before going into showing the stack math and how we would like show it in an abstract way. So that is how it's gonna work. I hope you get some ideas and enjoy this activity. Maybe you can use it with your students, but like I said, that's the lesson from beginning to end for today's math. So as always, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up so I know. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of every new video. See you in the next one. Bye.